Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt. And I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. Hey, if you like what you hear, and I know you do, if you like what you see, and I doubly know that you do, click the subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click it, click it, click it. I just loves to click it. Well, my audience, let me tell you something. I've got a special Wyatt today. It's a special treat. Our guest is Mock. She's the Amazon best-selling author of gay, lesbian, erotic romance and science fiction and fantasy. And she's just released her much anticipated new novel titled The Story of You, the Lost Brothers series. And y'all is already getting rave reviews right out of the gate. So let's just talk to Mock right now. So without further ado, Wyatt welcomes Amazon best-selling author Mock. Talk at me. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Wyatt. This is great.
Listen, Mock, it's my pleasure. I'm really glad that you took the time to stop by Wyatt. Well, first of all, I want to ask you, your work encompasses various genres.
Yeah.
So would you tell us about that, please?
Well, it's mainly an LGBTQ genre, and I try to kind of make it like a holistic thing where anybody can come to it and perhaps relate. So if you notice in my books, I don't really use a lot of labels because that's really important to me in my books. I write a lot of gay romance, specifically though, but I also write in the fantasy genre within that. So I've got elves in my books and magic and dragons, lots of dragons.
I love it because I'm a science fiction fanatic. So
Yeah.
this works perfectly for me.
Yeah.
Great. Now, you write under three monikers. You have Mock, you have S Legend, and you have Miss S. So you're busy. I believe
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
That's good. Keeps you out of trouble. But I believe that Mock is your most popular, and I believe that your readers actually gave you that name. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I first published Tristan, I came up with the name S Legend, and I can't even remember how, but I was like young, and it was kind of silly, to be honest. And then after I published Tristan, I started writing fan fiction, actually. And that's where I gained my largest fan base. And I used a different name over there because it was like secret. And through that name, my readers kind of shortened the name and they just started calling me. My name was Dead Mockingbirds. And then they shortened it to Mock. And then they just always called me that. And I was like, I like that. So then I just kind of, whenever I'd respond to them, I'd respond as Mock. And then it just sort of became my name. And then it was really interesting when I had people actually coming to chat with me and being like, hey, Mock. And so it just became my name after that. And I was like, okay, I'll take this on. And then I part of me wishes I could change my other name, but, for branding and stuff like that, it's better I just keep S Legend. So then I named my publishing company Mockingbirds Publications so that it had it kind of all comes together. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to talk about Mockingbird Publications a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah.
But first, my friend, I need to congratulate you on the new release that
Thank
dropped
you.
September the 27th. And everybody is called The Story of One. Did I get that right?
Story of You. Close.
Oh my God, what is wrong with me? It's like a brain fart. You know, off camera, I said The Story of Us. Now I'm
That's
saying The Story of
okay.
One. It is The Story of You,
You. Yes.
the Lost Brothers series.
Yes,
Now,
that's right.
Mark, we're going to really get into it later, but let me tell our audience, first of all, it's getting rave reviews. It is wow. You can really turn a phrase. It is compelling,
Thank
engrossing,
you.
it's captivating, it's
Thank you.
HAWT hot, and it's provocative, and as well as being entertaining, it's substantive because it has a message. Now, don't break your hand patting yourself on the back. But let me ask you this question. There's the standard version. You've written two versions, the
Yes.
standard
Yeah.
and then the unholy version. Tell us why you did
Well, the honest reason
Yes,
is
we want honesty here.
because Amazon won't let me publish what I want to publish. So that's really the only reason. And actually, okay, that's not true. There's one other reason. It's the content is so triggering that
Oh,
I didn't want some of the other readers to miss out as well. And I did have that in mind, aside from Amazon won't let me, but I had in mind that some readers might want like a less intense experience. So,
oh,
as they say in writing, you always want to show versus tell. And the
right.
reason you do that is because when you tell, you take the audience away from the characters a little bit, but you can actually use that technique if you want to take the characters away from, or sorry, the readers away from the story. So what I did in the story is the same in both books, but in the Unholy version, I'm showing. So you're right there in the action, and it's like it's very realistic in the sense that like you'll feel it. And so if you're struggling with certain triggers, it's going to be a lot. But if you want to still experience it kind of like on the outside, the safer version, it tells instead of shows. And so we've got Oliver kind of giving us like the Cole's notes and just sort of editing some of the most unholy parts. And then that way the reader is distanced from the writing, so they can still like get the gist of it, but not have to like go deep into the triggers if they don't want to. So yeah.
Ah, well, my audience, I love me some unholy. Well, I don't know. I
most
mean,
people
yeah.
most people want, I think I had like two people request the safe version. And I actually, this is funny, I had people messaging me asking me if there was an unholy version of the first book.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
yeah,
I
I
love
do. And I'm like,
that.
I'm so sorry I don't have an unholy version of the first book. But yeah, so it was kind of, they wanted the unholy version. They wanted to be next to the action. So, and either way is fair, whichever is best for the person. So yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, because I'm Action Jackson, so I can relate to that.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, before we delve into your stellar career and learn more about your new release, I want us to walk through the quarters of time so that our
Okay.
audience can find out your backstory. Are you
Okay.
ready?
I'm ready.
Well, first, listen, take my hand, but don't worry. I promise you, there are no corns and calluses on my hand.
Got it.
Okay, so tell us, where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in Ontario,
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
I was raised in British Columbia. I've lived in various cities. But then I finally planted my feet in Vancouver.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, but I was raised in BC, Canada, and it was good. I like it here.
Well, you know what? I love to ask my special guest this question, and here it is.
Okay.
What was Mark like as a little girl? Give us like you're laughing. I love it. Give give us like three qualities, characteristics that best defined you.
Okay, this is going to be maybe hopefully entertaining. I'd say number one was curiosity, which drove my mom nuts because I was always asking why is the sky blue? Why is that butterfly sitting over there? Like so I was so very curious and weirdly philosophical. Even like when I was really little, like I wouldn't just like think like how does that work, although that's was also my curiosity, but I would think like, well, why does it exist here, why is it here? So I was kind of like a philosophical child. And then see, a third quality, I guess I oh, here, this is it, a very energetic. And so my grandmother used to call me ambitious. I'd walk in, she'd lived with us, so I'd walk into her room and I'd want to do all these things like late at night, and she'd be like, Christy, or Monk, you're so ambitious. You're too much ambition. So yeah, and lots of energy. So there you go, curiosity, philosophical, and energy.
What
That was
this,
me.
well, Mark, that's perfect because that's everything you need to be a successful author or writer. The
Yeah.
curiosity, the energy, the what's going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
observation, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's fast forward. College, university.
Well, so this is maybe completely opposite to what I do now, but I went to school to be a nutrition something. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but
Right.
I actually hold a bachelor's degree in food and human nutrition from the University of
Cool.
British Columbia.
Wow.
And I at first I originally I wanted to be a dietitian, but then I did some volunteering in that sector and I decided it wasn't for me. So I actually worked in the health and fitness industry for 20 years
Wow.
before I like really went into my writing career.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, so that was my schooling, and so I've been studying nutrition and health for since I was about 12 years old. So about 30 years now. So people can do the math.
I got you. Well, what compelled you to, first of all, become an author? And then what led you to write, in particular, men to men, gay, erotic romance?
Very good questions. Well, I'll answer the author part first. So
Okay.
I've in my family, we don't just chat. We have to tell a story. Like it's always like, oh,
Uh,
I'm going to tell you a story. So it was just like the language we spoke. And I had this epiphany one day. I was actually training some clients, and I just had this epiphany while I was telling them a story. And I was like, man, I really like to tell stories, like
okay.
an excessive amount, right? And then I realized I'd actually been creating stories since I was little, like in my head. So like I would just like kind of go off into my head, when my like say we were driving somewhere or
Uh-huh.
heck, sometimes if a conversation got boring and I was off like and I created so many stories in my head. But the problem was I had no idea how to write. Like I couldn't even put a sentence together.
What?
I was terrible. I
Really?
didn't I yeah, I went to first year university and I didn't know how to write an essay. I had to take a special course on writing essays in first year university.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know, I just really wanted to do it. And I also read something that said, well, if you want to be a master of your craft, you've got to do it every day, all the time.
Yes, you
So
do.
I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know how and I don't know when, but I'm just going to write every single day for 8 hours a day. And I'm going to learn. So I read like grammar books. I took courses. I just like self taught because I had like a style in mind. Like I already had my style. And I was like, I want to preserve this because it's like different. And I just want to do this. Right. And so when I
Mhm.
first sat down to write Tristan, I I kind of learned some stuff. I still had a lot to learn, but the story was there. It just like downloaded into my head. Like I didn't ask for those characters. Like I didn't sit down and go, I'm going to think of these, two men, falling in love. I didn't think that. It just came to me, and it was almost like them asking me to tell their story. That's more how I felt. So I did. So I was like, you know what? Okay, guys, talk to me and I'll do my best to like get this out to the world. So yeah, so every time, and it's like that every time for me. Every time I sit down to write, I kind of ask a question and then somebody answers and they're like, I got a story for you, Mock, write this down for me. So yeah, so that's how it first happened for me. I kind of wanted to do it. I didn't have the tools, so I got the tools, and then I was just ready for when somebody wanted to share their story.
Before you talk about being a woman writing in this genre, let me say that we're like this with that because I'm a novelist. My new novel drops in March. Nothing can tear us apart. The sequel. And when I do workshops and seminars, people will ask me, "How do I do it?" I've got this book in me, right? One of the first things I say is you've got to write regularly. Every day. You got to write every day.
Every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's
100%.
just 10 minutes, because you have to get in that routine, correct?
Yes. You have to get in the routine, and I call it my writing practice because I'm also really into yoga, and one of my top yoga mentors said to me that we come to yoga to practice. You're not doing a yoga perfect. You're doing a yoga practice because you want to continually, like if you want to learn how to do a handstand, there's all these little muscles that you've got to hone and get in the flow and get in the energy of to be able to go into that handstand gracefully, right? And so I was like, you know what if I applied this to writing? So I have a writing practice. I sit down and it trains my brain so that like I'll output 5,000 to 10,000 words in a day. And I just do it easily because I'm in the flow and my brain is conditioned. And I believe because of my writing practice, so.
My audience, are you listening? You should be. All you aspiring authors out there, fantastic. Okay, tell us why you as a woman is compelled, motivated, whatever, to write gay, men-to-men, erotic romance.
Well, this is like a whole like Pandora's box that can open. There are a few reasons, and I'll try to keep it short. Well, one is like I explained, I really feel like I'm telling somebody else's story. I don't really feel like these are my stories. I feel like it's somebody else's story that I'm sharing.
Right.
And yes, do I use some of my own experiences and stuff to tell the story? Yes, because I'm trying to translate a message from somebody to a broader audience, and just like when you're translating a language from one person to another, there's some stuff that happens in between, and so that's why I feel like I'm in the middle of this person telling the story and then the readers, right? So there's that. I really don't feel like they're my stories. I feel like I'm telling somebody else's stories. But I feel like I get these stories because I can relate to like their core things that are going on for them. So, gay, straight, whatever a person is sexually, I feel like they choose me because I can understand in some way, because there's a lot of aspects of my own sexuality that I'm exploring every day, all the time. Like just when I think I've got something figured out, something new hits me and then I'm exploring again. So then there's that aspect too, is that I've got many, many aspects of, my own sexuality, and I consider myself gender fluid.
Okay.
So I don't know. I feel like I can relate to different things in the masculine and the feminine. And even some of my characters, even though they like identify as a man, some of them are very feminine, so I've got plenty of characters that aren't masculine in nature, right? They're still male identifying perhaps, but they're not necessarily, whatever the stereotypical masculine definition is, right? So that's the short version of my explanation of how I, a woman, Most days, not all days. Um, writes gay romance, and I've tried to write some stuff. Um, I've tried to write some male female, or even male female, and it just doesn't. It just drops. Like it just like I'll write 3 chapters and it's gone. Like it just doesn't. I don't know. So one day maybe I'll get a story like that. I'm open to it, but for now it just hasn't come.
Got it. Well, you know what? That wasn't too long, and it was very thorough. So
Okay.
listen, thank you for that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to read you a quote. I'm going to use my cheat cards here. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
here we are. Amy Lane, another established author in the genre, has stated, and I quote, "I think it's because women know the value of romance, period, for one thing. This is our genre. We're the ones who have picked up romance as the banner of hope for all people," end quote. What's your take on that?
I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I think that's a perfectly fine. Like I do think that women know romance, but I've also read a lot of male authors that write some really spectacular romance too. So I don't know. I guess I don't typically think anybody owns the genre. I
Right.
think it's like whoever has a story to tell. And I'm the first one. If I hear somebody has a story to tell and they're scared to tell it, I'm like, please tell your story because I want to read it. Like I really want to read your story. So yeah, I wouldn't say agree or disagree, because if that's how that person feels, then I'm sure they have a valid reason why. But for me, I don't think it. I think women are good at it, but I think men are too. I actually have quite a few male romance authors, and they're awesome. So yeah. So it depends. Everybody's different the way they write romance, and everybody's different with the way they feel romance. So yeah,
Well, you know what? That makes sense.
yeah,
Okay, you touched on this a little bit earlier about intuitive writing.
yeah.
I think you are
Hmm.
an intuitive writer. So
Yes,
let's get into that a little bit more, if you don't mind.
sure. Well, as we know, the two kind of main types that people tend to place themselves in are a plotter or a pantser. And typically a plotter does exactly that. They plot out their story, they have an outline, and they follow that when they write. A pantser and it's the same thing. It's like right in the name. They fly by the seat of their pants and they just kind of let things come out as they go.
Right.
But I've never fallen into either of those categories, because believe me, there have been many times I'm like, I'm going to totally write this idea. It's really good. And then the characters are like, no, this is what you're going to do. And the scene will just download, and like all of the parts, like they're all there and I can like see it so vividly. It's almost like I'm getting like a message. And then I'm like, okay, and I'm just trying to do my best to like transcribe what I'm seeing. And then I might get like the beginning of the book, and then I might get like a scene from the middle of the book, and then I might get like the end. So I might not get it in
Right.
order, but I have to. And so this is part of where the intuition comes in too, is I have to feel it out. So I'll even say sometimes, and I'll sound really weird to people, I'll be like, I feel like this is in the middle. I feel like this is in the middle. So they're like, well, don't you know? Like, shouldn't it like, and I'm like, no, because it makes absolutely no sense. Like, I don't even know what this character is like on right now, because it's like, it just makes no sense. But then when the story is finished, it all goes together. And I'm like, oh, okay. And even sometimes I get really excited. I'm like, oh, that's why he did that thing. And so, so yeah, so it's like I have to feel
Mm.
out what they're telling me. So I get scenes like a download, and then I also have to feel out what they're telling me so that I can make sense of it, so that I can actually tell people this story that I'm like getting to view. So it's like, yeah, so that's what I consider being an intuitive writer. And there's more too, but again, that's the short version.
So you really are the conduit. That's amazing. I really like that.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I mean, maybe I'm crazy,
No,
but
no.
yeah.
I think doing it that way, feeling that, you really give the
Yeah.
reader something special. Because with your work, it's like being the old cliche, being a fly on the wall. Well, that's true because you're really,
100%.
yeah, the reader is immersed in it. They are really close to what's going on, and they therefore build this connection with the characters and
Yeah.
with what you're writing. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Did I get it right?
you did. No, that's 100% it. Like that's why I don't have anything else to add, because that's exactly it. It's just like, and even when I was a new writer, and I didn't know what I was doing, people would still say, I feel connected to these characters. Like I feel like they're real people. They just like they're wild and they're raw and they just get in under my skin. Like I've had hundreds of people say that, and so it's like, and I don't like do it like I'm not like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do to these people, these poor souls reading my book, but it just happens because I've like I said, I'm really telling this person's story, so they maybe perhaps do things that like you couldn't plan, right? So yeah.
Cool. Okay, let us dig really deep in the story of you. I got the title correct, right?
You got it. You got it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. The Lost Brothers series. First of
Yes.
all,
Yes.
give us, Mark, the synopsis. What I know this is part of a trilogy, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us what is going on. Give us the synopsis, please.
So do you want the like for the trilogy or like just the story of you?
You can give us a little background of the
Okay.
whole trilogy
Okay, I'll give a
and
little
then
background.
zero in on the new one.
Okay. So the overarching plot is the story of this three brothers, and they went through something super traumatic when they were young. And then the catalysts in the story, which come into play in the first book, are two men that one falls in love with one of the brothers, and one falls in love with the other brother, or the youngest brother. Now, this throws like a whole wrench into everything because they've been coping with some mechanisms to deal with their trauma, and so far it's worked, till that point it's worked. But then when these men come along and like just, you know, create what Silas, the oldest brother, would consider chaos, that's what puts in motion all of these other things that they're like, well, maybe we should, deal with these things.
Right.
And so the overarching plot is exploring coping mechanisms. Like, can coping mechanisms keep us safe? And if they can, should we be allowed to keep them? Or, because like some people would say that certain coping mechanisms are unhealthy and toxic and you shouldn't do XYZ. But then some people would be like, well, but that's helping that person function. So shouldn't they get to keep what is making them function? But then kind of delving in to see, okay, well, maybe it's making this aspect of your life function, but this aspect of your life isn't doing so hot. Are you okay with that? So, and I'm not leading the reader down any path. Like this, it's literally just exploring it, and then the reader can read and decide for themselves what they think of what the brothers decide to do. So, regardless of the end of the story, of whatever the brothers decide, it doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it matters for like this, for the entertainment value, but as far as like exploring coping mechanisms for mental health issues and stuff like that, that's for the reader to decide. So that's the overarching plot. In book one, these men come into their lives, and it's kind of like the romance aspect. That's why that one is in the romance genre, because they are falling in love. Like Oliver is falling in love with Julius, and Darius is falling in love with Wyatt. And Silas already has a husband. He's already like madly in love with his husband, so we've already got that there. And then in the second book, we go back in time, and Silas, through his journal, the oldest brother, he tells us what happens. And so the story of you is focusing on that. So we get to see firsthand why he is how he is and why he's got his coping mechanisms. And then also why Oliver has his coping mechanisms, even though he was little and doesn't remember a lot of stuff. But we're exploring how childhood trauma gets into our subconscious, even though we might not remember it. So we've got Silas who does remember it, Oliver who doesn't. And then we get to see what happens in different situations. So even from the same situation, different ways of exploring that, right? So that's the overarching plot. And then the last book, I always in a trilogy, the last book is always kind of like either the redemption arc or like the, where everything kind of comes to a head. Right. And then we'll finally see what the brothers have decided to do about their lives. So yeah.
Interesting. You know what? Thank you for letting me be in your series, Wyatt, right?
Yeah, see, it's a good name. Wyatts are good people. Actually, Wyatt is like the favorite character. Everybody loves Wyatt so much. They're like, they just want Wyatt to walk in and be like, and like organize everybody. And he might, who knows?
Stay tuned. Well, I have to say that you are a bad mamma jamma, and let me tell you why. Let me tell everybody why.
Yeah.
Your social media presence is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
And you, as well as being a master storyteller, you are a master marketer, promoter, and you really consistently and creatively engage your fan base, your audience. So tell me, first of all, how you do that. And then number two, just how critical is effective promotion, marketing, fan engagement for a successful author to be successful?
Okay, well, first I want to assure everybody that I am no less scared than anybody else, because whenever I talk about this, people are like, I'm so scared. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I'm really scared all the time. But you have to kind of stop thinking about like yourself, as weird as that sounds, and you start thinking about the book and the characters, and then all of a sudden all the connection just comes, because every reader wants to connect with something. Right. And so I've kind of realized that, and I want them to have that. So then as I want more for the reader and for the characters, then I'm not as scared because I'm not thinking about myself anymore, right? So then I start talking and I start chatting, and then it just comes out. So, I'm actually, people don't know this about me, but I'm actually an introvert. I'm a hardcore introvert.
Really?
And so getting the gumption to like, to talk to, new people is, I sometimes I have to have like little chats with myself, right? But it's really what you have to do. You have to network. You have got to network and talk to people about your stuff, or nobody's going to know it's there, because you're a needle in a very, very large haystack. So I said to myself, in one of my self pep talks, like, you've got to just face the fear and just get out there and just chat to people. And then the second thing about marketing, which again might not be something in a marketing 101 book, but you have to believe in your product. You have to believe in it like the most. If you think your book sucks, or you think your writing sucks, and you're walking around with those thoughts, like, you will never sell your book. You might sell a few copies to your friends and family, but you will never reach the masses with that kind of. So you got to believe in your book, even, because people are going to come and they're going to, especially on certain sites, they're going to put your book down, but you've got to kind of push that aside and believe in what you're writing, and believe in what you're, and from there, I think it just flows. It just comes out, and then you have fun chatting about it, and you have fun talking about the antics of your character. It's not as scary anymore. And people want to belong to something. People want to be part of something. So when you include them, they feel like part of your family. And one of my readers, who has been with me since like the beginning of Mock Time.
I love it.
She created this hashtag called Mock Family. And I mean, this is my own like I don't want to like make people like join my group.
Oh,
I loved that because I want people to feel like they're part of the family. Like I want them to be able to come to my works and feel some kind of comfort. Even when there's trauma, I want them to be able to relate and feel like they're part of something, So that's part of what I do when I'm marketing is I really want a sense of belonging for everyone. And I want them to feel like they're home. Like, they've gone out other places and they're like, okay, but I'm coming home to read this so I can feel some comfort eventually. And so those are the things that I use when I'm doing anything, like when I'm creating, like even just some kind of like graphic or anything for my books. So yeah. So
I mean, Mark, that was beautifully put. I mean, because I've learned from you as well, particularly on the social media promotion marketing, because again, like you said, you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it's all for naught. So you've got to, and also too, you have to
yeah.
defend what you create.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
You really do because nobody else is, well, that's not true. You will eventually find your readers and they'll also speak up for your book
Mm-hmm.
too. But at first you're alone. You're all by
Yeah.
yourself. So you better believe in it pretty strongly or you're not going to get not going to get that far. So those are the things that I carry with me when I'm going out there because some days it's hard and I need my own pep talks. But it's fun. You know what? I've learned to find the joy in it, and I've met so many people that are just like wonderful, and I love dearly, and so it's cool because you get to meet people that are relate with what you're writing, so they're like you. They're just like you. So you get friends.
Awesome. Oh, here's a good
Yeah.
question for you, Mark. Let's say some magic happened. Something
Yeah.
went poof, and you could no longer be an author. What would the alternative be, and why?
I would. Okay, so I can't means I can't write any books at all. Oh, that's hard. Okay, you know what? I would go back to my health and fitness roots because I still enjoy because I could still tell stories to people, and through that medium, I was still able to help people. Like I used to work in with lots of
Right, right,
injuries,
right.
and I actually used to work with the older crowd, which I liked a little more because I'm very invested in the way that we move,
Okay.
which is a whole other topic. But so I liked getting people from, I would have some like 80-year-old clients who couldn't move. And then I would take them through my stuff and then they could move again and like go for walks with their grandchildren and sometimes even lift their grandchildren. So that was I always liked that kind of stuff. So that's what I would go back to.
Wonderful. Well, tell us, what do you have planned for the rest of the year into 2023, like appearances, other projects, that sort of thing?
I don't have any other appearances planned so far, but the world is an oyster for me. But I have quite a few books planned. I was actually just thinking about this yesterday and today and this morning actually. I want to continue my Xavier School
Oh,
series.
okay.
I've recently learned that a lot of people have been waiting for another book, and I didn't even know because I was so focused on the Lost Brothers series, and they're like, "Where's the next book, Mock?" So I've been writing some for that. I want to finally finish the Dragon Tamer
Okay.
series. So but it's going to be a big book. So I've got that. I've got the cover for it. I'm kind of letting it percolate because I kind of know where it's going. I just want to let some more scenes come before I sit
Right.
down. And I'm going to I have I have a steamy, very, very steamy book that will also not be available on Amazon if you get to my drift. It's half written, so I've been working on that. So that will come out probably. I might actually release that one before the end of the year.
Great.
And then for next year, I just finally got what I need for it's another arranged marriage trope book. It's going to be enemies to lovers, and it's going to be a fantasy paranormal story that I'm going to be writing today. I'm going to start writing it today. I'm excited about it. So I've got those coming out, and then of course the book 3 of the Lost Brothers series as well. So I have lots on my plate. I have a few more things too, but they're kind of they're not fully formed yet. So but I've got lots coming.
Well, you are an overachiever.
Maybe. I can't help it. I get all these stories and I feel like I wish I had a clone so that I could like put, different ones to work and get them going. Because I want to write all the stories.
I love it. So, how can we follow you, connect with you? Give us, please, all of your social media.
So I'm mostly on Instagram at Mockingbirds, at Mockingbird Publications. And I'm on TikTok as well, but I'm sometimes on TikTok, not as much as I should be. And I'll have to give you my link to my TikTok because I don't even know what my author name is over there. And then my website, www.mockingbirdpublications.com. And you can join my newsletter there. And my newsletter is the best place because I put all my updates about everything, like upcoming projects. And I even have a newsletter serial. I've written another book, or like a very short novella. And the first part of it is in my newsletter serial. So you get free stuff there too. free reading. And I also tell a story about myself, like a very small story about me. So if you want to learn something about me, join my newsletter on my website.
And listen, Mark, we all love free stuff. Definitely.
Yes. Me included.
Yes. Well, Mark, thank you for stopping by. Wyatt, listen, this has been a delight. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while. So it's been a blast.
Yeah, this was super fun. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you for having me on. This was great. So
my pleasure. So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com. The go-to destination, y'all, for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by over 100 countries on the regular. Yeah, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my electrifying, my smoking hot, AJWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. The latest installment is Frenzy! Yeah, Frenzy. And it's just chock full of masculine romance, passion, danger, intrigue, and all the erotica that you can shake a stick at. Its predecessor is Rage, all on WyattEvans.com. And I'm crafting the sequel to Frenzy. I'll have more information for you soon because it's going to drop soon. So listen, if you want to drop me a line, hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. And I'm all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. My social media is all right there. All my social media is right there in front of your faces so that you can peruse. So listen, until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof.